What's up, everyone? So, welcome back to another episode of the Built for More YouTube channel. My name is Timo,
I'm Ashley.
and today we have a very special guest, Marko from Whiteboard Finance. What's going
What's
on,
going
Marko? How
on,
you doing?
Timo? How you doing, bro?
Pretty good, man. Thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. I've been thinking about this interview, something like this, set up for quite a while now, but I didn't have a platform to have this type of conversation. So now that I do on YouTube, it's going to be a great conversation. So thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. You've been a follower of mine for a long time. So, for your guys' audience, if this comes off a little bit overly casual, it's because it is. I've known Timo. He entrusted me with a lot of his personal stuff back in the day. So I'm happy to do whatever for him. He's a good guy.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. So, really quick, I came across Marko's YouTube channel back in 2018, 19, right before the pandemic. I don't know, can we say that pandemic, right? I know it was like back in the day, it was something you couldn't say. But anyways, so I came across his YouTube channel. I was interested in learning how to invest because I don't come from an investing background. I don't come from an investing family. I didn't know what a stock was or how to even get started. So I started doing a little bit of digging on YouTube, started searching, and I come across his YouTube channel, right? And I watched one of his videos, and from there I watched every single video since then, for the most part, for the last 5 years. I gained a ton of knowledge. Went from not knowing how to invest, where to get started, to now being, I think, somewhat proficient into investing into the stock market and different kind of alternative investments, not only for myself, but as far as for my business as well. So, Marko, you have a background in business. I'm sorry, in finance, right? Can you talk a little bit about like your background, and being why you're an expert in the subject matter
Yeah,
of
so I mean, I've
finance?
always been passionate about finance. So basically, my mindset, it was not different than a lot of younger kids. So if we go back to, and I swear this won't be a long story, but if we go back to like middle school, right? Kids in middle school, if you're entrepreneurial or business minded, you start figuring out ways how to make money. You're either cutting grass, doing whatever you can do. So for me, that was selling Pokemon cards, believe it or not, and then mixtape CDs. I used to have, you guys may be old enough, but we had LimeWire, we had Napster, we had Kazaa. So we'd find all the ripped songs before they even came out. I remember like Eminem stuff. I used to rip all of his stuff, and that's it's illegal. I'm not telling anyone to do anything illegal, but I was a kid. I was like 11, 12 years old. So I'd make those mixtape CDs, sell them at lunch. I would sell Pokemon cards. I would do all that stuff. And then you start to get a little bit older and you're like, okay, this is not sustainable. So what do actual wealthy people do? What do rich people do? Well, they either invest in, real estate and stocks, they start a business, they do something where they're not necessarily attached to trading their time for money, right? And that's usually in the form of creating a business or investing their money. So, I'm 18 years old. I don't have a lot of money to invest. I think I was refereeing soccer. I worked at like TGI Fridays. I was a bus boy. I worked at a place called Angie's Pizza here in Cleveland. And, you have a little bit of money and it's like, okay, what do I do with this? So I started investing in stocks. I started a Trade King account. This was 2006. And this is before Robinhood and cell phones. This is when you had to take a picture of your ID, print it, mail it, wait, then you get your account login information. It was insane. And every trade cost $4.95 a trade. Now you can trade a million times a day. It doesn't cost you anything, right? So it's different. But anyway, I started investing in things that I was familiar with. So like I had Nike soccer cleats. I invested in Nike. I had like the AirPods and all that back in the day. I bought Apple, right? But this is very little, maybe a few shares here and there. I didn't have a lot of money. So I started going to college for finance because I wanted to be a financial advisor. I like teaching, I like helping, and if I understand a subject well, I want to teach everybody about it. My friends, family, I want everyone to kind of like, I know it sounds corny, but I want everyone to prosper around me, right? Because similar to you, Timo, my parents are immigrants, like they didn't come here with anything. No English, no money, nothing. I have no special connections or anything like that. So anyway, never became a financial advisor. I graduated in December of 2010 during the great financial crisis. This is when unemployment was 9-10%, right? And no one's hiring, especially a finance degree, especially, back in the day. So anyway, I bought a camera. I thought I was going to take pictures of my, fiance and become a, photographer and all that. But really, I was just looking for a creative outlet. That camera started to collect dust, okay? Didn't use it for years. So I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with this thing? My brother-in-law and I, we buy a big-ass whiteboard on Craigslist, okay? We have it on the roof of his car. And this is in the winter in Cleveland. We're getting frostbite on our hands. We're taking it back home. And I start the channel called Whiteboard Finance. And I started teaching finance on a dry erase board. That's why I call it Whiteboard Finance. And the rest is history, bro. You know, I've made videos for about a year and a half, didn't make a penny. Okay. I'm thinking to myself, why the hell am I even doing this? And then after about a year and a half, I had a couple videos go viral, and the rest is history. And I've made a good living for myself, thank God, and I still do it to this day. And my anniversary, believe it or not, my first video is November 17th, 2017. So
2017.
it's 8 years now, believe it or not.
Time flies,
It's
huh?
crazy. That's
Time
all
flies.
you need is a couple to go viral.
Yeah, but you know, Ashley, though, the key behind that is that I already had a catalog of videos before I went viral. So when people found me through the viral video, it wasn't just a one-hit wonder like a viral TikTok or a short. It was like, oh, this guy's got some pretty good stuff. I'm going to stick around for the long run. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you
Right.
just don't give up. I mean, everyone's seen that meme of the guy in the mine mining and he's this far away from the diamonds and then they give up, right? But you just got to keep going, right? You got to give it, for the entrepreneurs in your audience, you got to give it at least 18 to 24 months. You're going to eat a lot of crap in those 0 to 18 months, you know, year and a half, 2 years. But, you know, you will either hit gold or you'll realize it's time to pivot. And either way, it's not a failure if you decide to pivot. You just realize you just found something that doesn't work. You know, you can always try again, you know, but it's not wasted time. It's better than sitting around watching Netflix, you know?
Agreed. Yeah.
So at what point did you realize and did you say, well, you know what, I could do this full time?
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
started at a time where I would say YouTube wasn't like where it's at today as far as like how easy it is to go viral now. It was a little harder, I would think back then to because we're talking about almost 10 years ago. So at what
Yeah.
point did you think about like, you know what, this could be my full time job or my full time business?
Yeah, that's a great question because I'll tie in two key concepts for the aspiring entrepreneurs in your audience. So, to answer your question, this was in April, May of 2019. I had that car dealership video go viral. Okay. So, I was making good money at revenue, you know, a bunch of stuff, right? The whole channel was doing well. And I'm like, I was working at Key Bank at the time. Okay. I was making maybe like, I don't know, 90, 100 grand or something like that at the time. And, you know, YouTube started to meet that income and it started to surpass it. And when it did it for like 2, 3 months, not 2, 3 days, you don't want to jump the ship too soon. There's a famous quote, don't quit your day job. People say that for a reason, right? What I meant by that was my wife and I were renting at the time. We had no kids and we just paid off all her student loans. She's a nurse practitioner now. And I have no student debt at the time. And our cars are paid off, thank God, right? So I'm like, dude, this is like a no brainer. Like, why am I killing myself working 8 to 5, 8 to 6, you know, sitting in front of a computer at a cubicle when I can just be cranking out content at home and making just as much, if not more money, right? So the reason I wanted to tie that story in is because I was able to step away. She was a nurse at the time, making decent money, and we had no debt or kids or obligations or dependents. That's what I mean by that. So the decision was easy. Now, for your audience that, you know, they may have a good month or a good 2 months, you know, great, but, you know, is it really enough to step away from your job? So I would say you should at least be able to, I know this sounds conservative, but at least double your side hustle income, double your full salary income through your side hustle. So if you make, you know, 3, 4 grand a month at your day job, try and make 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 at your side hustle because you're going to run into things that you don't even are aware of if you're an early entrepreneur. You have taxes that you're not aware of. You have quarterly estimations to make. You have all this different stuff that you're not even thinking of to run a business properly, to where a dollar in a W is not the same as a dollar in a side hustle, right? But once your business grows, you can start writing stuff off. There's a lot of advantages. So to answer your question, it was after about a year and a half, 2 years of doing YouTube. And I made the decision because we had very low overhead and we had a stable income. So for anybody out there, my wife and I, we have the perfect combination. She's a nurse practitioner. She has the health care. She has the pension. She has the 401k, whatever. And then I'm the entrepreneur who has months that are ridiculously high and months that it's like, hey, are my kids gonna eat tonight? You know what I mean? Not literally, but you know what I'm trying to say. So it's a good balance between steady and kind of aiming, how do I say it? Batting for the fences, if you will, swinging for the fences.
Interesting.
That's exactly like me and Justin. He's got the 401k and the health insurance and all of that, and then I'm the entrepreneur
Yeah,
like that. So yeah, same thing.
it's a good
You know, that's one of the things.
combination.
That's one of the things I do miss from having a like a W-2 job is like you have the health insurance, you have pretty much everything set up for yourself. But now, since I'm like, you know, on my own self-employed, I have to, you know, which is not bad.
It's not. It's not. But that's one of the things that I was talking about, bro, because people don't think about that. They're so used to having like, okay, health insurance, small deductible, all that stuff. And it's like when you start working for yourself, especially if you have kids, bro, and you're the sole breadwinner. I know entrepreneurs that pay thousands of dollars a month just for health insurance with a big ass deductible. You know what I mean? So just that's all I'm trying to say is, don't quit your day job too quickly is what I'm saying.
Yeah, don't do that. I have, when I resigned from my job, it wasn't like overnight I did make that decision, but it was leading up to that day. Whenever that day came, I knew it was close.
Mhm.
I had, called different health insurance companies, try to educate myself on what the plan is for me and my family moving forward with health insurance, because my wife, she's an independent contractor as well, or she's an independent contractor. So she's also 1099. Another thing that I had to look at was like retirement, So I was looking at that and then trying to figure out how can I set myself up so where it's easy for me to just transition to be self-employed full time. Now you start doing YouTube full time, right? And you start cranking out content full time. And this was around like COVID, right? I don't want to make this about COVID, but this was like around right when COVID. How did that play a part into like how your YouTube just kind of like took off? Because everyone's at home now, everyone's watching
Bro.
YouTube videos.
COVID, I made more money in my life from 2020 to 2023 than I did my entire professional career before
right.
that. And the reason for that is, I'm not saying that to brag. Most YouTubers, especially finance YouTubers, because you have to look at it this way. They were giving out stimulus checks and people were inside. So what are they going to do, right?
They're gonna buy.
They're going to download Robinhood and you're going to buy stuff. You're either going to go on Amazon or you're going to invest your money in crypto or stocks, right? So at that time, I believe it was December of 2020. I came out with the video. So this is a little content strategy for the people watching. So not in finance, I would say my version of finance. What I try and be is I try and be a subject matter expert. So if you think of a pyramid, think of your content as a pyramid. The base should be evergreen, high value videos, right? Helping people. Hey, how do car dealerships rip me off? Oh, I learned a lot from that video. This guy is trustworthy. I like him, know him, whatever. The middle part should be something that challenges either like a paradigm in your industry or it should be like newsworthy. Okay. So, hey, Elon Musk just bought $80 billion worth of Bitcoin. Let's talk about it, right? That kind of a thing. And at the tippity top of that pyramid, it should be something that's very sensational, but not clickbait. It should be something that, again, it could challenge a paradigm. It could be, whatever. Why Dave Ramsey's wrong about credit cards. Dave Ramsey says absolutely no credit cards. And I say, hey, I just went to Europe for free because of my credit cards. You know what I mean? So you can challenge that that top thinker, if you will, or that subject matter expert in your space. So that's kind of how I've crafted my content. So to answer your question, from 2020 to 2023, affiliates did very well because to go to that base layer of the pyramid, I made an hour-long course for stock market for beginners. That video has 8.6 million views. This is like an hour-long presentation. So it's a PowerPoint at its core, but within the PowerPoint, I'm doing math. I'm showing people how to buy. I'm doing live demos of purchasing a stock using Robinhood, for example. And what I did was, what was really smart is I turned that PowerPoint that I already took weeks to create, I embedded affiliate links inside the PowerPoint. So when someone's going through it, when they get it for free, they click on Robinhood, they sign up. Guess who gets the affiliate commission? I do, right? Not only that, I put them in an email cycle. So it's like, hey, Timo, do you want this PowerPoint? Get it for free here, right? You get it day one. Hey, Timo, thanks for subscribing. Here's the link to the PowerPoint. Day two, hey, Timo, did you get 4 free stocks from Robinhood? If you haven't, click this link here, right? And there's an affiliate commission. So imagine 8.6 million views. So not only is ad revenue doing very well, think about that machine that I just created that makes money while I sleep. Ashley's downloading the presentation, Timo's downloading the presentation, and then I hit him a day later with that link saying, hey, have you signed up and gotten your free stocks? Free stocks? Sure, I want free stocks. I get the affiliate commission, they get free stocks and a free education, and everyone's happy. The reason I bring that up is because you can skin a cat a million different ways on social media. Now shorts are very popular, which we all know. But I will say this, the shorts audience, so creators that make really viral shorts that have millions of subscribers. Go look at their long form content. They have maybe a couple thousand views, right? Because people, they just don't watch their long form stuff. My audience is 99.9% coming from high value long form content. So they're a much more loyal subscriber, if that makes sense. They're much more likely to take a suggestion from me, click on something that I recommend, that kind of a thing. Because it's not just a short, it's a, oh, this guy helped me, a lot. So you have to
That's
look at it both
interesting.
ways.
That's an interesting take, because even with like what we do, Ash, right? We're doing like product demos or like product reviews. I think the longer form, and this is something that I've been really thinking about, the longer form like tutorials. Right? Actually, you have that video with a pool, right?
Yeah.
It's a pool tutorial video. It's a longer video, and it's solving a
It's still
problem for
going.
people, and it's still going. And this
It's
is what Marko
evergreen.
touched
It's
on.
evergreen.
Yeah.
It's an evergreen product that the video does well year round, which is great to apply whenever you are doing the longer form videos. So not only are you generating your commission is commission through AdSense, right?
So there's primarily, we make money 4 ways. When I say we, I mean typical finance
Right.
YouTubers. So ad revenue is like your gravy. Think of that. You shouldn't have to rely on ad revenue. Okay. It's a part of my business, but that should be the gravy on top. Where you really make money is through affiliates, through sponsorships, and through your own products. So Timo, you're a member of my community, Whiteboard Finance University, ton of value, evergreen courses, live streams with me, all that stuff, right? So that's my product. And then affiliates is stuff that you can make tutorials about how to use Robinhood in 2025. I'm just using Robinhood as an example. You can do that for any broker. There's entire channels out there that just review finance apps, right? And people that sign up, they all get kickbacks, they get commissions. And then finally, what's been done really well for me this year are sponsorships. So sponsorships could be anything. It could be life insurance. It could be, a broker, it could be crypto, it could be whatever, right? But I will say this, at least as a finance creator, even though my income is quote unquote diversified, ad revenue, affiliates, sponsorships, my own products, high tide raises all ships, lowers all ships. And that tide are the views, right? You get a lot of views, everything is up. You get a little views, everything is down. So even though I have different quote unquote streams of income, they all come from views, period. Because if no one sees my videos, who's going to click on my affiliate link? Who's going to sign up for my university? And what sponsor is going to sponsor me if I have 0 views, right? So it really is a high tide, low tide scenario with the views.
So to a certain extent, you're almost at the mercy of the algorithm.
100%. That's why I hate it.
Yeah.
100%.
Kind of like us with Amazon, right? There was just to share a quick little story, earlier this month, Amazon, with some of our accounts, not everyone was affected, but Amazon removed our videos, our product videos, from the Amazon platform, from the website. So for 4 or 5 days, we're trying to figure out what's going on. They did some kind of update. They didn't let us know what they're gonna, what update. They didn't let us know anything about this update. We're trying to scramble to figure out what's going on. But for 4 days, 5 days, actually 6 days, I saw 0 commissions coming in, which was odd, right? Which leads me into the next question. Is you talked about diversification a little bit, from YouTube and the different ways that you generate income. How important is to diversify outside of one platform? For example, in your case, YouTube, doing other things.
Yeah, I think it's very important, man, because if you look at just from, the COVID days on, censorship was definitely a thing. It all depends on what you talk about. Obviously, your guys' stuff, you're reviewing products. It's not political. It's not inflammatory. My stuff is not. My stuff is more PG-13 at worst. But, finance is almost intrinsically linked to politics sometimes, right? Because of policy, because of, the president and things like that. So, there's a time where, I was afraid to say COVID. I was afraid to say coronavirus. I was saying cerveza sickness, because of corona, and it's I don't know what to say. And it's funny, it's I don't know. There was a censorship component 100%. And here's the other thing, bro. During this advent of AI, so when ChatGPT started to really become popular, I first heard about it in early 2023. And you use it, it's okay. You can kind of see the writing on the wall. Now, fast forward 2 years later, I use it for everything. I use it to help me find ideas. I help it, script, writing descriptions, all that stuff. But my point is, all these finance blogs from 2023 to now, their traffic and a lot of affiliate sites, they dropped 80, 90%. Even my brother-in-law had not I want to say famous, he had a pretty successful, multiple 6-figure fishing site, all through Amazon affiliates. He would review reels, hooks, bait, rods, depth finders, all that stuff. Dude, he lost 80, 90% of traffic overnight after AI. And I don't know if it was Google restructuring the algorithm. It was insane. And this happened to a lot of finance creators I know that had blogs. So to answer your question, I think it's paramount. The one thing that we can truly own as creators is our email list, right? Because once I have your email, it doesn't matter what happens to Google, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, X. But I will say that you're not going to get new eyeballs if you are banned on all the social media. Not banned, I just mean shadow banned, not getting the clicks. You know what I mean? But the email list you can own and control, but you're not going to find new eyeballs. And that's the beauty of YouTube. It's the second biggest search engine in the world. Google's number one. Guess who owns YouTube? Google, right? YouTube's number two. So when someone's going onto YouTube and typing in how to tie a tie or how to invest in stock market for beginners, right? And you have 8.6 million views, you're just ranking not only for one of the most difficult keywords on the planet, but the ad revenue is also sky high because these are people that are ready to spend money or invest money. That's why the ad revenue and the CPMs are so much higher in the finance space than other niches, because they know the advertising dollars are much more expensive. It's the insurance, it's the drop shipping, it's the e-commerce, it's the how to make money online and finance. Those are typically the highest CPMs out there because the auction for the ads are so much more expensive.
Interesting.
It's different than like a comedy channel. Oh, I pranked this guy. Wow, what's your CPM? $3. You need 8 trillion views to make a living, right? With finance, you can have little niche videos, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, and you're making money off affiliates and off ad revenue as well.
Interesting. That's interesting. So you did mention something about, you did mention sponsorships, right? So these sponsorships that you do with these companies, do you reach out to them or do they find you obviously through YouTube and then they reach out to you?
Both. It's either direct or I have a broker. I have a broker, shout out to Chris. He basically takes 15%. So if I get, let's just pretend for easy numbers, $1,000 for a spot or 10,000 or 50,000, whatever, he takes 15%. So if it's 10 grand, I get 8,500. He takes 1,500. So he does everything from A to Z. Yeah, go ahead.
Wow, that's cool. I want to be like Chris.
Chris is smart. Chris has a lot of creators that he works with, and Chris makes a lot of money.
Yeah,
be like Chris. Don't be like Marko.
Like 15%, and well, you guys are the one making the content.
Exactly. But he's handling A to Z. All the headache that I don't want to handle with, I don't have time. I have 2 little girls. I don't have time to fart, let alone manage contracts and stuff. So from A to Z, he does everything. Contracts, hey, this is when you should post, blah, 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 blah. And he's also like a teammate. And it's nice because you guys probably know this. Entrepreneurship is lonely. I'm sitting in my unfinished basement. It looks like a nice studio because I made it that way. I'm sitting in my unfinished basement in my home. I got kids running around upstairs. My wife has she's a nurse practitioner. She doesn't know anything about this, which is fine. But my point is that entrepreneurship can be lonely. She doesn't understand that I am HR, I'm marketing, I am accounting, I am, I'm everything, creative director, But that's how I chose to create my business. I have 0 employees. I have 0 stress. I have all the time in the world and I control my calendar. It's 2 p.m. on a Friday and I'm doing this podcast with you guys at the drop of a hat because I can, right? I see a lot of creators, they turn their channel into a machine, which is good because you can make way more money than I make. However, you're on the hamster wheel and you better run fast because you got overhead now, right? You have employees, you have editors, you have thumbnail guys, you have, all that stuff. My path is my own path, and I'm probably on the more conservative side of things. I don't want 1 million employees. I don't want a bajillion followers. I don't want any of that stuff. I want my bills paid, no debt, and I want to travel to Europe and eat whatever I want, and my kids to be healthy. That's it. So my goals are a little bit different.
That's
a
great. I was having the conversation I think with Ashley about that's a good way to measure, I think, success as an entrepreneur, right? Is the freedom that you're allowed to have.
I control my schedule, bro. That's all that matters to me. Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Timo. Go ahead, bro.
No, you're good. You're able to do what you want at whatever time you want. Well, I mean, sometimes, right? Because we got kids, but for the most part, you're able to control. You have, like my old professor used to say back in community college that I never graduated from. You have your life by the balls, right? And that's right. Essentially how I dreamed of having my life by the balls, and now I do.
Yeah, thank God, man. It's a good thing. Time, I'll tell you this, man. Like, I'm not old, but I'm starting to get a little bit of gray right here, I still got a decent hairline. You got a good hairline too. We're good. We're good. This chat is good. This chat is okay. Some of my friends, they're flying to Turkey, they're getting, the little implants and shit.
Yeah.
They call it Turkish hairlines because everyone's coming back with the bandages on their head. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah.
My joke is that like I'm getting a little bit older, but the older I get, there's this one tweet. I can't remember exactly how it goes. I'm going to butcher it, but it's like when you're when you don't have a lot of money, you have to cut your own grass. It's like 3 stages of wealth. You have to cut your own grass, you pay someone to cut your grass, and then you choose to cut your own grass, right? So I'm trying to get to
Good.
stage 3 where it's like, I have enough money for someone to cut my grass. I cut my grass because I like to, but when you have enough time and you can cut your own grass at your own time, that's kind of like my definition of wealth.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Love it.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this for a while now. You've been doing this self-employed, and you're a YouTube creator for a while, doing this full time, generating income from different stream or different ways. How important is it for the audience listening, right? That's doing this, maybe they just started doing this full time, or they aspire to do this full time, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Amazon. How important is it to to save for a rainy day or rainy season, and 2, take some of those profits or income and invest it for the long term, i.e., retirement, maybe a taxable brokerage account, a Roth, things like that. So it's a 2-part question.
It's a great question. I think it's very important. So for me, typically the advice that I give on my channel, if you're not an entrepreneur, say you're W-2, you got a solid paycheck coming every 2 weeks, you're not going to get laid off, you're good. For those people, if you're single, 3 months is fine. If you have, spouse, fiance, maybe 6 months, that way in case they lose their job, you can kind of cover each other. You're covering 2 people at that point because your expenses are probably going to be higher. And then if you have kids or dependents, then 6 to like 9 months is fine. But if you're an entrepreneur, I shoot for at least 6 to 12, preferably 12, and I have more than that. The reason for that is because, all it takes is one market cycle. Say you're a realtor, right? You're doing really well, and it's like, I'm getting the Porsche, I'm doing this, it's like, business is great, as it has been for the last, 6, 7, 8 years. And then guess what? You go through another 07, 08, that last 3, 4 years, nothing's moving. There's no transactions. You're not making any, money on the brokerage side of things. You need to save money for a rainy day. So I'd say anywhere from 3 to 12 months emergency fund. So what's an emergency fund? Is just 3 to 12 months of expenses. Okay. So easy math. If your expenses are, let's just pretend for easy numbers, $1,000 a month, anywhere from 3 to 12 grand, right? Multiplied by however much you need. Now the investing side of things, this is a two-part answer because this is an entrepreneurial podcast. The best ROI that I could invest in is not stocks, trading cards, cars, whatever, gold, silver. It's in my own business because if you know that if you put in $1 in advertising, with a cost per click or whatever, and you get back 2 or 3, put every penny you have into that CPC campaign, right? That cost per click campaign or that SEO campaign. If you know that, hey, I make these widgets for $1 and I sell them for $3, and if I put in a little bit of money in marketing, I can sell way more widgets. That's an easy formula. That for the entrepreneurs, if you have something that's working and it's scalable, put all your money in your business. That's going to be the best ROI because not only are you going to make more money, you're going to show more money and you can sell your business for more money at a later date. Okay, if it is saleable. If you're not an entrepreneur, or say you're someone just getting started out in this podcast and Timo and Ashley's audience, you should at least go in the order of operations of maxing out your Roth IRA first, in my opinion. And there's other ones. There's like health savings accounts, HSAs. That's triple tax advantaged. And I won't go into the specifics on this podcast, but for everyone, you can at least invest up to a Roth IRA. So if you go to $7,000 a year, most people listening to this podcast with full-time jobs, they can afford $7,000 a year. Okay, $500, $600, $700 a month, get it over with, and then you can always take that money out because it's after-tax money. So even if you have it in there for 3, 4, 5 years, you don't like it, you can at least take out what you put in. You can't take out the gain because that you're doing it before 59 and a half years old and you're going to get a penalty, but you can always take out what you put in. So at worst, it's a savings account, right?
Interesting.
So
I didn't even know
I
that.
didn't know that.
Yeah, you can take out your principal. You just can't take out the gain. So if you put in $10,000 and you're at 12, you can't touch the 2. Yeah, you can take
And you
that
don't
out
get
for
penalized?
no. Because it's after tax money. It's your money. There's life events, deaths, marriages, health related stuff. There's a bunch, buying your first house. There's a bunch of exemptions, but the principal you can touch for sure. What you've contributed. So anyway, with all that being said, Roth is at least what everyone should do. And then after that, you have a million different options. I'm a big Bitcoiner. I believe in it. I've done very well with it. Right now, it's kind of, correcting for sure. I think we gave up an entire year worth of gains, literally today. But other than that, I'm just an easy VTI and chill kind of guy. So for the people listening, VTI is just the Vanguard ETF that gets you into the entire US stock market. It has like 3,900 stocks in it, right? So you don't need to be an investing genius. You just need to believe that American dollar and the stock market and the economy will keep going up and to the right. And it's done better than a savings account. But even for the people that want to keep it in a savings account, interest rates today, I mean, you can easily get 4% with like SGov. Those are treasury bonds. So even if you need a place to park your cash and you don't really believe in the stock market, you can still get 4% easily. State income tax free if you invest in something like SGov.
Okay, so really quick, just to can you explain what an ETF is, just so like for the audience that listening that doesn't know what an ETF?
I don't know
There's
what
a
it
lot.
is.
Yeah,
Can you
that's
explain what an
okay.
individual
Not a
stock
lot.
is compared to
Yeah.
an ETF?
Yeah.
'cause-
Not a lot of people do. It's okay. So ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund. So think of like a fund, okay? It's something that a big brokerage house or someone, a broker can offer. So think of it like, just say Vanguard. Vanguard is a really big brokerage. Think of Charles Schwab, Vanguard, JP Morgan, Fidelity, whatever. Most of them have their own versions of common exchanges. So you have, or you can use index funds interchangeably with ETFs pretty much. So you have like the S&P 500. In a very simplified nutshell, these are typically the 500 biggest companies in the United States based on market cap. Market cap is just number of shares outstanding multiplied by the share price. So if there's 100 shares of this entire company and it's trading at $1, the market cap is what? It's $100, right? 100 times 1. So without going too far down the rabbit hole, ETFs are able to track a certain metric or a certain index or a certain, whatever the criteria is, whatever that thing is trying to achieve. So if we use the S&P 500, whatever those top 500 companies are going to do, that's typically what the ETF is going to do, okay? So let's take like SPY, okay? This is S&P 500 index fund or ETF, excuse me. You're going to own a little bit of all those 500 companies. So instead of me just buying Tesla, just buying Microsoft, just buying NVIDIA, just buying whatever of those top 500 stocks, they're usually market cap weighted. So the more the company's worth, that's going to be the higher percentage of the fund that's going to make up the S&P 500 ETF or index fund. So right now you have what's called like the Magnificent Seven. You have your NVIDIAs, your Teslas, your Alphabets, your Metas, your, those kinds of companies that are really doing well right now. You're going to own all those plus 493 other companies. Does that make sense? So if Tesla does crappy and Facebook does great, most of those 500 are going to go up and to the right over time. So they kind of balance each other out. And what you can expect realistically to make historically, it's been like 9 to 11%, right around 10% or so. So if you have a savings account where you're making 1%, losing money to inflation, and you don't need that money right away, why wouldn't you put that in the market at historically like a 9, 10, 11% return? And don't get me wrong, the market can go down. It went down 40, 50% in 07, 08, right? Imagine having $1 million portfolio, waking up in 07 and seeing it at $500,000, right? A lot of people jumped off buildings or drank themselves to death, right? So you got to be, what I like to create is what's called a sleep well at night portfolio. So if you think of your net worth as a pie, say this is $1 million. Let's just pretend it's $1 million net worth. Your house, your car, anything that's saleable, that's an asset, you put that in your pie, and that should make up a slice. So like say I want this slice to be 15% of Bitcoin, okay? So if I know that $150,000 out of $1 million, that's 15%, is Bitcoin. When it's lower, I can buy more. When it's higher, I can sell some. As long as I keep it at that 15% and I expect it to go to zero, and I'm not going to jump off a building or drink myself to death or, divorce my wife or whatever, then you're fine. Now, if Bitcoin is 99% of your portfolio and it goes to zero, well, that's when you run into those kinds of issues. So all I'm trying to say is make your slices as big as you're comfortable them being if they were to go to zero, if that makes sense. So for me, mine is like a third stocks, a third real estate, 15% Bitcoin, even though it's significantly higher because I've been investing in it for a long time. I don't really sell it. And then the rest is just like cars, collectibles, precious metals, cash, that kind of stuff. Think of your net worth as a pie and each slice has a weight, if that makes sense.
So you stay diversified within your investments also.
100%, because if Bitcoin goes to zero and real estate does well, It's like an ETF. If Nvidia goes to zero and something else doubles, it's not ramen noodles or filet mignon. It's always going to be somewhere, in the middle. So,
Right.
even though
So
ramen is good.
if I have like a Roth IRA right now, which I do, and I want to do all these other things that you're talking about, I could just go to your YouTube channel and learn about that stuff. You talk about that on your YouTube channel?
For the most part, yeah. Here's the conundrum, though, Ashley. When you're living off ad revenue, sponsorships, affiliates, you have to become the news as a finance channel. There's only so many videos I can make about a Roth IRA, about a 401k, about
Right.
So you have to become Elon Musk farted. Here's what's gonna, you become like these very That's not me, literally, but like I cover a lot of stuff, like a lot of decisions Trump is making, the tariffs, things like that. But for
Okay.
the more evergreen stuff, I was talking about the content pyramid, the stuff that's on the bottom. I have all that stuff on my channel. I mean, there's Dave Ramsey, there's a bunch of people. But yeah, I mean, the biggest issue with being a finance creator is that you inevitably become these guys that have to put out 3 videos a week because they have a million editors and researchers and thumbnail guys and all that stuff just to make payroll. You understand what I'm saying? But when you're a little bit more free with your schedule, like I am, you can be a little bit more selective with the videos you put out. So take everything with a grain of salt, especially on YouTube. There's a lot of good actors, but there's also some bad actors as well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of bad actors. We saw that during
Yeah, for sure.
during COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, especially during COVID. Yeah, buy my fart coin. Yeah.
So we're approaching an hour, and I want to be mindful of your time, and I kind of want to ask you a couple questions right
Sure.
before we conclude this. Is what has and you kind of touched on this earlier. What has going all in on content, on yourself, on building a lifestyle kind of business? What has that enabled you to do with what you've done with like YouTube and everything else? What has that type of lifestyle enabled you to do, or
Yeah.
that type of business?
Yeah, another great question, bro. It's controlling your own schedule without having to worry if you're approved for 2 weeks vacation, right? That's just a small example. My family, like I mentioned, my parents are immigrants. We go back to Serbia, we go back to Montenegro, we go back to Croatia. We go to the Balkans every year, and then from there I just went to Spain, I went to Rome, I went Greece, I went everywhere, right? My point is that it's the ability at the drop of a dime to say, this team is playing in Milan, let's go to Milan, right? I can fly out there for $500-600, let's do it. And it's not even the money, it's the ability to do it. Don't get me wrong, like I've done well for myself, thank God, but I'm nowhere near FU money, right? I still have to, hey, welcome back to Whiteboard Finance. I'm still on the treadmill, but I'm close to getting off, But at the same time, what it's taught me is not only does personal finance teach you how to manage your money and make the right decisions, it's like a diet. A diet is the best analogy I can give you when it comes to money. Okay, I'm going to eat the 24 wings, the 2 draft beers, eat some bread, do all this stuff. What's going to happen, right? You're going to get fat. Everyone knows this. This is common sense, right? If I did the same with my money, you're going to be broke in a year, right? Oh, I bought the new this, the new that. I had to get the thing. So what running a business teaches you is not only how to manage your time and you eat what you kill. It's kind of like a sales job. You have to invest your time and make the videos and do all that stuff, but then it pays dividends down the road. You're building a business. What it's done is it teaches you how to be a better everything. I know that if I eat healthy, if I do the workout, if I do the stuff I don't want to do, you're going to see the results. I know that if I choose not to watch the Netflix, I just use that as an example. I have nothing against Netflix. If I choose to invest my time in making the next video or creating a course or helping someone, that's going to lead to a better life down the road for me as opposed to wasting it watching 4 hours of NFL, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I love soccer, I love sports. But my point is that everyone has 24 hours in a day. And how you choose to use it is up to you. But I'll say this, the more crap you eat in those first 18 to 24 months of building that business, maybe it's 60 months, I don't know, maybe it's 5 years, but it's going to exponentially improve your life on the other side, if that makes sense.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that analogy.
Yeah, so I know I was a little bit all over the place. It's just do the hard thing today for a better tomorrow, if that makes sense.
And I guess, right, Ashley, to piggyback off of that, we can kind of see this in our Amazon influencer business, right? Where we create the content, create the videos, upload them to Amazon, and we're seeing the return on that investment, investing our time and energy from the beginning, right? We both came a long ways since we started, and it was because, like what Marco said, we put our head down and just worked and grind for like the last year and a half, and now
Yeah.
we're reaping the benefits of that, and it's been amazing.
And the more
yeah.
the more
Oh, go ahead,
video
Ashley. Sorry.
oh, sorry. The more videos that I have, the more money I make.
It's
So,
very simple.
yeah.
It's like logical. It's so logical. It's the more sales calls you make, the more videos you put out, the more you put your name out there, the more you're going to reap from that. And the more people you help, frankly. I remember like growing up as a kid, my favorite rap group was 3 6 Mafia. Like I grew up listening to them, you know, it's a great rap group. And I remember this one interview after they won the Oscar. They won an Oscar for Hustle and Flow. If you guys remember that video, it's about that
Yeah.
rapper in Memphis trying to make it. And they won an Oscar. It was crazy. You know, these are dudes from the hood. And it's like they interviewed DJ Paul and they're like, you know, what do you attribute to your success? He goes, dude, we're in the studio from Sunday to Sunday. From Sunday to Sunday, we're in the studio, you know, and it's just putting out, you know, trying to put out music. And in this case, videos, this case, content, this case, sales call, the metaphorical sales call. You know, if anybody that's in sales listening to this, everyone knows it's a numbers game, you guys. Also, what I noticed, I've been doing this for years. I have hundreds of videos. It really is the 80-20 rule. 80% of my ad revenue came from 20% of my videos. And it's
Yeah.
scary. It's crazy. It's like, holy shit. You're telling me that, sorry for swearing. You're telling me that 8 out of 10 videos I put out don't do great revenue wise. And that's the truth. But the 20% that do, you know, those could be yearly salaries for some people. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's crazy. So
And you can't get there without the
without the
10,000 hours
8,
of hard
exactly.
work, right?
Without
Yeah.
the 8 out of 10 that don't do well.
Correct. And
So
one last thing before
basically,
we
we need
conclude this,
to
I
use
think you kind of go ahead, Ash.
no. So basically, we need to use our time wisely. The 24 hours that we have in a day, use it wisely for a better tomorrow. Basically.
100%. It's just like investing. You know, if you invest today and you expect a return in 24 hours, just go to the casino. You can go play roulette. You can play craps.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of games out there, but entrepreneurship is the long game. What
Right.
am I building? What am I doing? Am I building something that I'm proud of? You know, that kind of a thing. So it's the long
And
game.
you kind of answered this already, which was going to be my next question is what's one piece of advice, one tip that you can give someone aspiring to do this full time, whether it's YouTube, Amazon, just create content in general? Maybe they want to leave their 9 to 5. Just what's one piece of advice that you can give someone?
The things that have really helped me are not necessarily a vision board, but just goals. You can make it in Google Drive. You can print it on a piece of paper. You can write it on a drywall or a dry erase board on your wall. I typically break down my business goals in terms of, for my specific business, it's like, you know, videos put out. So I'm not going to say views. I can't control views. I just had a video go somewhat viral. It has like 160,000 views. I just put it out last week or earlier this week. I can't control that. What I can control is the amount of videos I put out. So for me, how many pieces of content did you put out? How many videos did you put out? What are my revenue goals? Do I want to launch a product like a course or something, right? And you give yourself timelines, realistic timelines. You can't kill yourself because you're going to burn out if you do it that way. And they need to be realistical and attainable. Excuse me, I can't talk. Realistic and attainable. My daughter comes into my bed every night. I haven't slept in 4 years. I'm like, get the hell out of here. She's so cute though. I'm just kidding. She comes in maybe like 3 times a week. My point is, so there's a thing called SMART goals. It's like, what is the acronym? It's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and then there's like timely, like there's a time frame tied to it. But anyway, for life, I try and do travel goals, fitness goals, you know, stuff like that, and then financial goals. And for my business, it's more of what's the amount of content I can control. So I know that was a long-winded way to just say, like, when you write stuff down, the universe or God or whatever this is, this matrix that we're living in, simulation, I don't know, no one knows, right? The universe listens to you. So when you write this stuff down and you're intentional about it, there's videos that have blown up that I would have never thought would have blown up in a million years. And it helps get me to those check marks. And do I meet it every year? Of course not, right? That's almost impossible unless you're, and if you do meet them every year, you're not setting lofty enough goals, if that makes sense. So try and write it down, put it somewhere where you're going to see it every day, whether it's your bathroom mirror or your office desk or whatever. Don't just put it somewhere in some file folder and you forget about it. It needs to be visible. And that way, every time you walk by that dry erase board or that piece of paper, you're going to say, oh shit, I got to get a video out. I got to do whatever. And it just holds you accountable. It's kind of like that coach, you know?
I like that. I like that. So thank you, Marko, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit down with us and just have a conversation about content, finance, all the things that you're very good at. So where can people find you?
Yeah, my pleasure, Timo. Thank you for thinking of me, bro. Whiteboard Finance on YouTube. Instagram is Whiteboard Finance. I was on Twitter. It was Whiteboard Fin, but I actually got rid of it. I was spending too much time on it. So basically just Instagram, YouTube, and then also Whiteboard Finance University. We have 3 full courses, 2-3 years worth of live streams. They're all recorded, except yesterday's. I had some text messages pop up on the screen. I'm like, dude, I got to delete this one. It was like my wife, it was my friends. I'm like, no. But what we do in there is I go live there every week, and we have evergreen courses taught by real practitioners. Real estate investor Axel, he's got a full course in there. He has, he just crossed, 2,000 residential units. It's crazy. Nathan, full-time portfolio manager, and then Jacob, like budgeting guru. So check
Tons
that
of
out as
value.
well. Yeah.
I'm part of it. Just a simple fact that you hold the live streams every week to have direct access to you, ask you questions. It's great. So I'll go ahead and link all that down here in the description. So if you guys want to know more information with that, we'll give them a follow, join Whiteboard Finance University. Thank you, Marko. And hopefully we can do a part 2 sometime later on.
I would love to.
I would love
whenever,
that.
Yeah, whenever you want to. Ashley, nice meeting you. Timo,
It was
nice
so
seeing
nice
you, brother.
to meet you.
You as well.
All right, man. Thank you.